What if tomorrow, every bee on Earth simply vanished? No sound, no wings, no hum above the fields. At first, you wouldn't notice. You'd wake up, brew your morning coffee, drive to work. But within weeks, the silence would start to feel different. The apple trees behind your home would bloom, but their flowers would never bear fruit. The air would feel emptier, as if something ancient had stopped breathing. It wouldn't look like an apocalypse. No fires, no floods, just an invisible unraveling, slow, silent, unstoppable. Because when bees disappear, the world doesn't end in chaos. It fades, one harvest at a time. Across Earth, there are over 20,000 species of bees. From the wild, solitary mason bee to the honeybee that built entire civilizations. Together, they pollinate more than 75% of all the food crops humans depend on. Every strawberry, every almond, every drop of honey exists because of them. They don't just feed us, they connect us through an invisible web of pollination that links flower to fruit and fruit to life. Each bee carries grains of pollen like golden dust across billions of tiny journeys. In a single day, one hive can visit 5 million blossoms. They are the unseen builders of our world, tiny architects that hold up the cathedral of nature. So when they vanish, it's not just the bees we lose, it's the heartbeat of life itself. The first week passes. No one panics. Fields still stand green. The world still spins. But beneath that calm, something sacred begins to fracture. Without pollination, flowers bloom in vain, their beauty a signal no one answers. Orchards turn to silence. Apple trees, coffee plants, avocados, each waiting for a visitor who will never come. By the first month, farmers notice smaller yields. The strawberries come misshapen. Almond trees stand heavy with blossoms but empty of nuts. The first wave of shortages begins. Slow, invisible, global. Because bees don't just serve fruit, they pollinate livestock feed, alfalfa and clover that fuel cattle, sheep, and goats. When they vanish, the animals starve quietly beside us. Six months in, food prices begin to spike. Supermarkets start limiting supplies. A handful of crops, wheat, rice, corn, survive. But the rest, the color of human diet, begins to drain away. The world starts to fade into beige. Less fruit, less variety, less life. By the end of year 1, millions face hunger. By year 2, famine stretches across continents. And the silence of the bees becomes the hunger of humanity. But this isn't just about food. The collapse of pollination rips through ecosystems like a fault line. Birds that rely on seeds and berries disappear. Small mammals lose cover and nourishment. The chain of life, from petal to predator, begins to crumble. Every extinction leaves an echo, and the echo of bees would sound like the slow death of abundance. We built our lives on the labor of creatures we barely noticed. Now, the world begins to remember what they were worth. When the bees disappear, the collapse doesn't stay in the fields, it reaches the cities, into every market, every meal, every price tag. Coffee becomes gold, chocolate, a luxury of memory. Cotton, silk, and oils, all traced back to pollinated plants, vanish from shelves. We thought we were separate from nature, but our economy was only nature with a barcode. A world without bees is not empty of beauty, it's empty of balance. Crops that depend on wind or self-pollination survive: wheat, rice, corn. But the diversity that painted our plates, gone. Global markets fall as crop yields collapse. Governments ration fruit imports. Price of coffee exceeds that of crude oil. Scientists call it the pollination collapse cascade, a chain reaction that starts small and ends in famine. Without bees, wildflowers die. Without wildflowers, insects vanish. Without insects, birds starve. Without birds, forests decay. The chain unravels, quietly, perfectly. We used to believe strength meant domination, but in nature, strength is interdependence. Every flower needs a messenger, every tree a traveler of pollen, and every human depends on both. Civilization stands tall, glass towers, satellites, algorithms, but its foundation still hums in the small body of a bee. We built machines to cross galaxies, but forgot the ones that cross gardens. We can feed data to AIs, but not nectar to flowers. It's a strange irony. We conquered the planet, yet we can't survive its smallest loss. When nature stops working, humans try to take its place. In parts of China, where pesticide use erased the bees decades ago, farmers now climb trees with brushes, hand-pollinating flowers one by one. Each blossom touched by human fingers, each fruit bought with hours of labor. It takes 1,000 people to do what a single hive once did in a morning. In laboratories across the world, scientists build mechanical pollinators, tiny drones with synthetic wings that mimic the flight of bees. The dream is noble. The question is tragic. Can machines truly replace nature? They can scatter pollen, yes, but they can't rebuild ecosystems. They can fly, but they can't love flowers. Because bees don't just move pollen, they maintain balance. Their choices, their rhythms, their unspoken language with plants is older than civilization itself. Every flower they visit is a conversation in chemistry, a scent exchanged, an electric signal received, a dance of precision that even our most advanced drones can't replicate with meaning, only mimic in motion. And so, our inventions grow, but so do our mistakes. Because the disappearance of bees wasn't born from mystery. It came from convenience. Pesticides meant to protect crops poisoned their pollinators. Monoculture farming starved them of variety. Urban sprawl erased their habitats. Climate change confused their seasons. We called it progress, but nature called it suffocation. Every spray, every cleared forest, every hive displaced was a slow subtraction from a living equation. And when you subtract too much life, eventually, life stops adding back. This isn't just a story of bees, it's a mirror, a reflection of what happens when growth forgets gratitude. And so, if bees vanished tomorrow, the world would not end instantly, but it would lose its rhythm. The quiet coordination between blossom and sky, the ancient conversation between light and life. Every hum you've ever ignored, every flicker of movement in the corner of a field was part of the same orchestra that fed the earth. They never asked for applause, they never sent an invoice, yet they held civilizations in their tiny wings. We measured their value in dollars, but nature measured it in existence. The truth is, we are not masters of this planet. We are its guests, and the longer we stay, the more we must learn the language of gratitude. Because every creature, from the whale to the worm, has a purpose written in symmetry, and the bee's purpose was balance. If they vanish, it won't be nature that failed us. It will be us that failed nature. So perhaps the real question isn't, what if all bees disappeared? It's, what if we listened before they did? Because when you protect the small things, you protect everything. The hum of the hive, the pulse of the planet, the breath of every living thing, they are all one rhythm. And if you listen closely enough, you'll hear it. In the wind, in the grass, in the silence that follows.